We start, though, with breaking news at the Supreme Court. It just handed President Trump another win, allowing his administration to fire hundreds of probationary federal workers. I want to get straight to Paula Reed, who was looking through the decision. Paula, what did they say?
So, Dana, this is a significant win for the administration. The fourth one they have notched from the Supreme Court in just the past few days. Here, this decision is focused on thousands of fired probationary federal workers. Now, this decision will allow the government to keep those individuals off the payroll, while the larger questions about these firings are litigated. Now, this was decided not on a constitutional issue or really on the merits. It was decided on something called standing, which is whether the individuals who brought this lawsuit had the right to do so. And here the court says that the 9 nonprofit organizations did not have standing in this case. So again, this is sort of a technical win, but it is still a win for the administration.
It is still a win. It is still a win. I love those two words, another win. Are those not two beautiful words? Another win for the Trump administration. We are rocking with the Supreme Court of late, gang. The latest ruling just released literally just minutes ago today has blocked a rogue judge's order requiring Trump to rehire probationary employees at 6 federal agencies. It was a 7-2 ruling with Kagan joining the 6, well, mostly conservatives. Isn't that wonderful? Now some of their side is coming on over to ours for a change. Let's hope that's the beginning of the new court in this new American golden age. As I understand it, these were over totaling, it affects around 16,000 employees, which remember, Trump did not have to technically rehire. Again, we talked about this early on our video this morning. The Democrats keep picking fights they can't win. Even if Trump were ordered to reinstate those 16,000 positions, he does not have to reinstate the same people to those positions. Most of them probably got other jobs during this entire appellate process as it was playing out month after month. It's the positions that are ordered reinstated. And the irony here is that Project 2025, the infamous Project 2025, calls for mass firings of federal bureaucrats on the one hand, and then on the other, replacing them by hiring MAGA loyalists, which is exactly Trump's backup plan, were the Supreme Court to rule against him. Now, he's clearly going with the DOGE plan. This came later on. The first was Project 2025. Fire as many as you can, and then the ones you can't fire, you replace them with MAGA loyalists. And then came Elon Musk and DOGE, which his idea was basically let's eradicate as much of the administrative state as we can, something going way beyond Project 2025. This, they believe, was the key to dismantling once and for all the administrative state. Again, as opposed to the Project 2025 replacement strategy. In other words, I was thinking about this today. Trump is eliminating rather than exchanging. He's eliminating positions altogether rather than exchanging leftist federal employees with MAGA loyalists. He is doing that, but he's focusing primarily on the elimination rather than exchange. But the point is here, either way, Trump wins. This is the futile, I don't know, what do you want to call it, voyage that the Democrats are trying to walk up a descending escalator. No matter how the courts decide in these issues, Trump wins, at least when it comes to the bureaucratic positions, at least when it comes to him hiring and firing in the executive domain. But that said, the Supreme Court ruled in Trump's favor today again. Now, they threw out the case, as you heard, on the issue of standing. It's a procedural issue. But again, what's so key here is that the executive branch does have exclusive jurisdiction that excludes those left-wing nonprofits filing the lawsuit on behalf of the workers. That's why they don't have standing. So to me, this is far more than just a procedural ruling rather than a merits ruling. The procedural exclusivity that the Supreme Court is acknowledging reveals the merits. The executive branch has exclusive plenary authority over executive departments under the president's control. He can hire and fire as he sees fit. And if you are not directly part of that executive domain, you have no standing. That is a foreshadowing of how they're ultimately going to rule, I believe, on all of these rogue judge cases. This is why all of these activist judges, in the end, are going to get crushed. Case in point, the latest win, of course, coming on the heels of the huge ruling, the 5-4 ruling. It should have been 6-3, but we reported on this morning. The Supreme Court has overturned Obama-appointed Judge James Boasberg. He's been the worst of them all. He's the one that ruled that the Trump administration could not use what's called the Alien Enemies Act to deport violent Venezuelan gang members who are here illegally. I mean, let that hit you. You've got people here illegally, and they have no constitutional rights. Constitutional rights are for citizens or for those who are here illegally. They're here illegally. They are criminals by very definition of their presence here. And then on top of that, they've committed acts of violence in the nation. On top of that, they do it as part of a gang. So here they are. They're in our nation illegally. They're engaged in all these acts of violence as part of a gang. And Trump says, here you go. Here's a plane, and it's sending your asses back to Venezuela or El Salvador, the mega prison of Nayib Bukele. You're gone. And we actually have a judge who is so infested with ideological absurdity that he ordered the two original planes that were deporting these criminals, I believe 200 to 300 at the time. He ordered them to stop mid-flight, well, not stop, but turn around mid-flight and return. And of course, the Trump administration said, what? Huh? Can't hear you. What? Huh? Diesel engine's really loud. Huh? And they did it again. Of course, the Trump administration repeated the deporting, using the Aliens Act to deport more and more, hundreds more of these Venezuelan gang members. And this judge was absolutely livid, and he was threatening them with holding them of contempt of court. Well, the Supreme Court has now officially sided with the Trump administration, removing the restraining order that the Trump administration was ignoring to begin with, and allowing President Trump to continue to deport violent, illegal gang members under the Alien Enemies Law. Now, what is so key to get with that Alien Act ruling? What is so key here? This is going to pump you up. You ready? You ready? All right. I'm reading a lot of commentary on this, legal commentary, but what's so key is, as of that Supreme Court ruling telling Boasberg to basically shove it, now Trump officially owns the border. The last obstacle, as it were, has been that by the way, again, he was ignoring, but the last formal obstacle has been removed. This was it. This was the final nail in the coffin for Democrats for the next 4 years, who've been desperately trying to find something, anything that could possibly stop the mass deportations of what they were hoping to be their new 2030 voting constituency to offset the massive electoral gains made by red states in the upcoming reapportionment, right? The Electoral College reapportionment has, I believe it's 12 more electoral votes in red states, while at the same time, blue states are losing, I believe, around 10, something akin to that. So as we speak, nothing, zero, nada, not a single case against Trump and the southern border has been upheld. Not one. They've all gone down in flames, either at the appellate level or at the level, most recently, of the Supreme Court. Trump now has total, unimpeded ability to deport criminal aliens to foreign jails with the barest of process, meaning it's the swiftest possible means of deporting anyone. And again, I love how Latinx put it, one of my favorite X accounts. He's arguing, we're going to be living in a very different country in 4 years. I mean, there's just no way around. It's baked into the cake now. Demographics is both for those who show up, but it's also for those who have been deported. Right? I mean, there's just no way you can take that to the bank. There is now officially nothing that the Democrats can do to stop Trump's 24/7 deportation program as of this Supreme Court decision. And by the way, it's been the same story for federal workers so far as well. So this latest ruling that we just got from the Supreme Court allowing the Trump administration to basically fire whoever he wants is yet the latest defeat for Democrat efforts at trying to save these hundreds of thousands of bureaucratic positions. They literally, you've got to get this, they have yet to win a single case. Yes, I know they'll get a decision in their favor after judge shopping, right? Which, again, the Supreme Court, by the way, just ruled they cannot do. They're going to shoot down every single one of these cases that they suspect started with judge shopping, where Democrat activists look for Democrat-appointed judges in deep blue districts so get the predetermined result that they want. The Supremes, particularly Judge Roberts, they despise that. To their credit, they see that a total politicalization of the courts. If there's anything Roberts is absolutely freaked out over, so he wants to protect the courts from precisely that, from this partisanization. But thus far, though they've gotten a decision from a lower court here or there in their favor, all of these federal workers have done nothing but lose the appellate process. Again, this is why I keep telling you out there, stop dooming over these rogue activist judges. Stop despairing. They are going to get overturned. Don't fall prey to the legacy media's attempt to galvanize the very deflated Democrat base right now, while at the same time trying to demoralize MAGA by reporting these judicial rulings as these great, glorious victories for the left, from these unelected lower court federal judges. They're not. They're not. The left has yet to win anything in court since Trump's term began, right? And that's just not even 3 months ago yet. The left has not won a single case. Every case thus far that they've brought before the courts is either on appeal or it has lost. It's gone down in flames. So pay no attention to these rogue judges. They're just the beginning of an entire process that every single one at this point has gone down in flames for the Democrats. One estimate right now, you'll love this. One estimate is that we're at about 500,000 federal workers gone since January 20th. 500,000. Again, we've just never seen anything like this. The latest, the one that we cite very often is Bill Clinton back after the Republican Revolution, when he tried to reinvent himself as a major centrist. And I believe they got rid of 300,000. That was like total in his the latter half of his first term and his second term. We're talking 500,000 in freaking 2.5 months. 500. Now, keep in mind that those who accepted the DRP, the Deferred Resignation Program, and I believe they've had 2 rounds of that thus far, or there's a second round that's coming. But those who took the offer for early retirement, as it were, right, they're not counted in those figures because they are technically employed as part of the severance package until, I believe, September. But they're gone. They're not going to work. They're gone. But as part of the severance, they're still getting payment all the way to September. So they are not counted. If you count them, you're looking at upwards of about 500,000 federal jobs, 500,000 eliminated, and we're not even in 3 full months. I mean, think about it. Can you imagine what Northern Virginia is going to look like in 2028 if this keeps going? And keep in mind, too, to the extent that whatever federal workers they keep on more or less have to be MAGA loyalists. I mean, Virginia could be, it looks like Virginia will at the very least be a swing state, if not possibly returning to the solid red category. We will have to see. And if that doesn't excite you, take a look at this. This is final here. You'll love this. This is the question that's trending on Reddit, which clearly leans left if you know Reddit. Reddit's pretty pathetically left, actually, in and it's politics. I'm on Reddit. People ask questions about me, and some of the answers are quite funny. But here is what is trending on Reddit today. And it's a question. It starts with a question, and you get a bunch of answers if you don't know Reddit. Why isn't anyone stopping them? Well, this is one of the most answered questions on Reddit today. Why isn't anyone is stopping them? And then here's the subheading. Hundreds of thousands of federal employees are getting slaughtered at the hands of inexperienced 20 to 25-year-olds. So this is an explanation of the question. And I got to stop there. Hundreds of thousands of employees, that's true, are getting slaughtered, well, metaphorically, at the hands of inexperienced 20 to 25-year-olds. That's just a blatant lie. The average age for a Doge employee is 47. 40 freaking 7, not 20, not 25, not 30, 47. Remember the old saying, if you want to make a conservative angry, lie to him. If you want to make a liberal angry, tell him the truth. Liberals intentionally live in a fabricated world precisely because they cannot handle reality. It's called wokeness. But going on, quote, the fact that this country is letting this charade go on right now is abysmal. I'm disgusted as I wait to see if my family is going to lose health insurance and our income based on arbitrary decisions. Again, stop. Look, I don't want anyone to lose their job and lose their health care, objectively speaking, but these decisions are not arbitrary. Musk has said it over and over again. If you are an excellent, conscientious employee, federal employee, you're not going to be fired. At the very least, they'll just find another position for you. They want the best working for a new MAGA-based DC. So obviously, this person's whining is indicative that they will not make the cut. This is what's trending on Reddit here, this helpless, bewildering, bemoaning cry for why on earth won't anyone stop them? And we can answer that. I mean, I can answer that. We can all answer. If you're a regular to this channel, if not, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We can all answer that. The answer is very simple. You've been voted out of power. That's the answer. We obviously know who you voted for right there. Well, you literally have no power. Or politics, as I say every week, over and over again, politics is ultimately about power. It's not about ideology. It's not about right or wrong. It's not about philosophy. Without political power, you cannot institute your ideology. You cannot institute the right or the wrong, the philosophy. Politics is the means of power. It's the means by which you are able to enact your vision for a good society. And if you've got it, if you've got the power, then you can enact your values, interests, and concerns that you believe is best for the country. If you don't have it, well, then you go to Reddit and you write out these hysterical rants that only prove how irrelevant and ineffectual you've truly become. Let's be honest, we're not getting any younger. And if you want to look and feel your best, you need to check out Pure Health Research. They have 45 premium health supplements designed to help with your every health goal, whether it's boosting your energy or trimming belly fat or supporting healthy blood sugar or pumping your testosterone up or even reducing swelling in your legs. Pure Health Research Supplement Store has you covered. Each formula is crafted with natural, non-GMO ingredients backed by clinical research and manufactured right here in the good old USA. And here's the best part. Pure Health Research is offering you an exclusive 35% discount. All you have to do is go to purehealthresearch.com and then use coupon code TURLEY at checkout. With their 365-day money-back guarantee, there is zero risk in trying something new. So why wait? Head on over to purehealthresearch.com right now, explore their 45 amazing supplements, and save 35% off before this deal ends with coupon code TURLEY. Don't miss this chance to feel your best.
You can't use the old tactics. You can't just run TV ads and send out mailers and expect to win. And so the reason we need permanent infrastructure when it comes to a ground game is because the left's doing it. They're building behavioral, they're really creating an environment and changing the behavior of Democrat voters. And so that's what we have to do, right? We have to get Republicans that are not likely to vote on election day to get a ballot sent to their house and then get them used to sending that back.
34.5% of all mail-in votes went to President Trump in Pennsylvania in 2024. That's the power of the American people standing up, fighting back, and taking our country back one state at a time. Now, what happened in Pennsylvania in 2024 isn't just a single victory. It's a pattern that we're seeing in the state at large. We've been talking a lot about this of late. Pennsylvania is turning solidly red thanks to the hard work of many grassroots movements of patriots talking to voters and getting them registered and signed up to vote. And we're not just winning, we're building a movement that's going to crush the left for generations to come. Pennsylvania has been viewed as a battleground state for years now. The left thought they had it all literally locked up with their mail-in schemes, which we saw specifically in 2020 with the COVID rule changes to voting. But incredible patriots like Scott Pressler and the man behind the Pennsylvania chase, Cliff Maloney, refused to allow the state to be turned over to the left. They actually learned the tactics that the left was using to secure elections and transform them into tools for our own benefit. Sounds great, doesn't it? Well, then, this happened. A shocking loss last week when the Democrats claimed a state Senate seat in a district that Trump won by 15 points. It hasn't flipped blue since 1978. What on earth happened? And how can we make sure that it doesn't happen again, particularly in this key Keystone State? Well, joining me today is a hero to this channel, and he's here to discuss the future of Pennsylvania, and that's the one and only Cliff Maloney, the leader of the Pennsylvania chase. We helped Cliff. You guys helped Cliff take Pennsylvania back. We're not letting it go, man. We're not letting it go, Cliff. I love it. We got to keep Pennsylvania, but I don't know, this District 34. I'm getting ahead of myself. Cliff, welcome. It's great to see you as always.
Appreciate you having me, Doc. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome. It was great hanging out with you in Harrisburg. And with some guy named Jack something like Pasobic, something like that. I don't know. He's getting up there. He'll get there someday.
He kept shouting promo code POSO the entire event. Promo code POSO.
Promo code. I'm like this guy is so professional. It's great. I'm kind of like I think it's promo code Turlet. I don't know. Try promo code POSO. I don't know. Maybe I'll just get a little finder's fee on that. All right, come on now, Cliff. Let's look at the big picture. I try to remind everybody, especially at that stunner in District 34. I try to remind everyone we are the Super Bowl champs. We won the big one. We won the World Series. We won the Stanley Cup. Pick your sport. So let's start there. Walk us through, if you would, how you turned a tactic that the left had been using for years now, mail-in voting, into a winning strategy for conservatives. What was the key to flipping that script?
Yeah, well, I think the first key was President Trump himself, right? So I've said this on your show before, Steve, and your audience is fantastic. They stepped up, total patriots, to help us really pull this off. But I think Trump, we had kind of this cultural shift where in 2020, they changed these rules and we all were like, well, let's vote on election day. It's the most secure way to vote. And, we're just going to stick to that. And then we started to learn lessons each year as kind of the culture shifted. And we kind of got to a point where 2024, we said, look, if we don't adapt to these rules, if we don't use the tactics that the Democrats use, we don't think we can win in these swing states. And so in Pennsylvania, there's 50 days of voting. When I grew up, there was only one day. You voted on election day or you didn't. But with these 50 days of voting, Biden understood, and he doesn't understand much. So that's saying something. Biden understood that if they go out and they target Democrats that are not likely to vote, but you send them a ballot, and they sent Christmas, they almost sent a ballot to every registered Democrat in the state of Pennsylvania.
Right.
But they realized that they became much more likely to vote when they had a ballot delivered to their door. And so in 24, we just took their playbook. Okay, I'm not a creative guy, right? I mean, I'm just imitating what it is that Biden did. And we use those tactics to get all these Republicans who were not likely to vote to request a mail-in ballot. And we actually had a higher return rate than the Democrats. If you just look at the percent that came back, because Republicans are adapting quickly now. And those low propensities voted, which is what made up the difference to flip the state.
Do you still run into Republican skepticism for mail-in and early voting?
Yeah,
and if so, yeah, what's your apologetic to that?
Yeah, I get it all the time, and I get it from honest people who are looking for solutions, right? I'm not talking about those that, have some grand conspiracy, but people have a lot of questions. I do. And so, my answer to that is simple. One, we ask people to drive and hand in their mail-in ballot, right? Mm-hmm. I always say this, trusting the post office is a big flag that we get from a lot of people. And so that's my kind of solution to that is, look, the county offices are open. Get your mail-in ballot, go drop it off yourself. It's just as if you voted. You're handing it to the election worker. You don't have to deal with the post office. Number two, and this is a softball. I didn't even ask you to ask me this, Steve. We look so much into this in terms of understanding who gets to adjudicate these elections. And you saw crazy videos out of Pennsylvania, Bucks County, where the county commissioner is saying, well, we know it's illegal, but we're going to let it go forward, and then maybe the courts will rule on it. What? Where I'm from, if something's illegal and your job is to interpret the rules, you don't go in that direction.
Did she say something like nobody's obeying the law anyway? So what the heck? Something like it was just absurd. It was beyond
great
absurd.
Justification. I mean, you really have to dance in circles to figure it out. So what we're doing, Steve, to combat that is actually in 2025, we've relaunched the PHAs, and people said, well, what are you doing? And I said, well, listen, we have to compete with Governor Josh Shapiro. We can't give up a year of gains that we just made to get these low propensities in the habit of voting. So we're going to do this every year. So then the question is, well, what are you focused on? And so we've decided, because of election integrity, there are 9,200 judge of elections at one for every precinct in PA. And so what we're doing is we're going out and we're asking people to be part of our judge of elections program. And if you run, you need 10 signatures. It's pretty simple. We will deploy our ballot chasers to back you up for your judge of elections campaign. So obviously in 24, we were top of the ticket focused on Trump. Now we're inverted. We are going local. We are going grassroots, and we're going to try to win 1,000 judge of elections campaigns in 2025. And Steve, why this is so important is when our ballot chasers go in and get these people elected, the judge of elections that we elect will control all of the on-the-ground decisions for 26, 27, 28, and 29. Obviously, 26 and 28 being major, major moments, not just for PA, but for the country.
You were talking about this in Harrisburg, if I recall. You were on the stage before Jack and I came out, and Jack was just chatting with me the whole time, so I couldn't hear it. But I think you were talking about like either most or a significant number of these judges don't even get elected; they just get appointed because nobody even bothered to run, something akin to that.
So this is why when I started to dig into this with my team and we were deciding, which race, when we looked at these judge of elections, I couldn't figure out, I ask a lot of stupid questions. I'm a math teacher, so I'm used to stupid people, not stupid questions. I can say that. I'm not teaching anymore. But the question I had was, why aren't Democrats talking about this, right? Because nobody runs for these positions. They don't even promote it. Well, the answer is this. In 2021, 40% of the judge of elections, nobody ran.
Wow. 40%.
The reason is then the government gets to appoint a government employee. And we know those are all Republicans, right? So if it's 9-1 Democrat to Republican, they're pretty much, when no one runs, it's a Democrat win. So that's a problem we're trying to solve. And the other cool thing is if we have 1,000 judge of elections, think about the power you have with all those elected officials calling on Governor Josh Shapiro to fix our election systems, calling on county commissioners within their local area to take the right actions. I love this grassroots approach, and pairing it with our PHA's program, I think it's going to be pretty powerful.
Well, we're going to be your number one supporter, man, or number two if you go in the war room. You deserve it, and this. I get so excited. I love the local architecture and structure that's being built that hopefully then just translates automatically into federal government. So good news about Pennsylvania. You know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I think most of our listeners know. They're calling Pennsylvania the new Ohio. So it's a battleground state that's kind of going through the same kind of ruby transformation that Ohio, which was a swing state, a purple state, voted for Obama twice. What Ohio went through some years back, I think starting more or less in 2016. So what do you see as the biggest factors that are driving the shift? Because it's not just the election results. It seems to be the voter registration. Something's really going on here where red Pennsylvania is waking up.
Yeah. So number one, I think low propensity voters, I think PA would have been starting this trend much sooner if the rules hadn't changed in 2020. So I think we're catching up on getting the low propensities out to vote. Registration has been trending in our direction, for practically, definitely the last 4 years. We're getting close. We're under 200,000, meaning the deficit of Republican versus Democrat registrations. And if you look at active voters, we're practically becoming neck and neck. So all of those trends are helping us. But when you ask why, I think there's a lot of mixes to it. One, voters had a chance to compare Trump's first 4 years, to Obama's 4 years. I think that a lot of this woke stuff, the DEI, the failed military efforts, people want that feeling that the actual blue collar worker is heard. And I don't think any candidate has ever represented the opposite of that more than Kamala Harris. Yeah. And I just think that whole trend, and by the way, that's going to be the big question, right? Is who becomes the Democrat leader? What is their message? Because right now, I'm feeling very good about Pennsylvania becoming the next Ohio because I don't even know what they're selling. It's not even like they're selling something and it's bad. Like they don't have a message. No. But my warning to everybody out there that gets cocky and thinks, look at what happened in Lancaster, right? Yep. When we have things that pop up, it shows you Governor Josh Shapiro might not have any type of political leader nationally. They might not have any type of message. They might be scrambling to figure it out. But they take politics very seriously. Yep. It's a business for them. It's a religion for them.
Right.
And so when you analyze that Lancaster race, right, I'm not going to point fingers on our side. We should have been involved. We weren't. I'll own that. I trusted some consultants, people that said, Trump won by 15. Don't worry about it. The Democrats had over 100 people, might not have been from the campaign, but of the groups like Indivisible, they went out and they ran up the score with mail-in ballots. So my pledge to all the folks on the Turley Nation here, we will never miss another election in PA because the only way you win, even in a deep red seat, is if you get out and compete with them on chasing the mail-in ballots. That's got to be the game plan. So I think the trends are continuing in our direction. But if we don't play by the rules, the elections are not going to be really a clear image of what's happening with the trends because we're giving them ground. So we got to double down on knowing what works and doing it.
Do you think so? I came across this term in political analysis, refractory period. I didn't know that. So I don't know if it's common parlance among electors, as it were. But so after, you see it in sports, after just all of the emotional highs and energy and all the money and time that you put into an actual winning campaign, once you win and win big, there's almost like this, there's this social exhaustion. It's almost like the hangover from the balls, the parties, and we just kind of tune out for a while. We get back to the regularly scheduled lives. We're not, we'll get a text of, hey, you gotta contribute to this campaign. Oh gosh, I gave so much. No, I'm not interested anymore. Do you think District 34? So this is, for people who don't know, this is Northern Lancaster County, deep red that went blue with the state Senate. See, do you think that was a case of just even in the infrastructure side of things? Do you think this was a case of some refractory period?
Well, what I've always learned is there's two excuses that the consultant class, and I mean the bad consultants, the establishment, there are two excuses anytime that there's a loss that they throw out there. Number one is they say, oh, the candidate quality wasn't there. And number two is they talk about national trends and they talk about the idea that, Republicans are less motivated than Democrats. And the left does the same thing, right? A lot of their consultants are just as corrupt. So let's analyze that with Lancaster. Number one, Josh Parsons is a great candidate. He's a patriot. I was very excited about his race. Anybody that says he was not a good candidate, they're just not in tune with what's going on. He's had more votes than pretty much anybody. When he ran, he was the county commissioner. So that narrative, which some of the consultants will use, that's out the window. Number two, when you talk about these folks that are running for office and people are talking about the trends, sure, Steve, of course the Democrats are more amped up than the Republicans. But I just don't buy that as a reason that you take a district that Trump won by 15 and it swings that much.
Right.
So to answer your question bluntly, I mean, I'm out here right now trying to raise ballot chaser sponsors. Yes, it was much easier in 2024 because it was now, it was immediate. It was the biggest swing state. And the one problem we had was the ground game, right? So it was easy to go out and say, hey, chip in $175 to sponsor a ballot chaser. And then we got, support from a lot of your folks, people around the country. But now it's interesting. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's definitely tougher to get people to realize, look, we're not going to let up. If we make PA the next Ohio in 2028, they can't win.
They can't win.
They can't win a national election if we make Pennsylvania ruby red. So that's my big plug and my big pitch to everybody is, look, if you want to double down, and if you saw Lancaster, or you saw what happened in Wisconsin, or you saw how close those Florida races were, well, now's the time to step up. Give us $175 a month to keep these folks in the field. And that's how we have to compete with the Soros money. I don't like it. I'd love to take the year off, but we're committed to doubling down and making this permanent infrastructure. And I think that's the only way we overcome some of that, relaxing after the race.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen to that. And we've got links down below, guys, for you to click on and help out Cliff and the Pennsylvania Chase, as you have done time and time again. It's a wonderful symbiotic relationship that we have, a symbiotic relationship that spells victory in the end, or like I said in my with the latest Supreme Court decision, what is it? Another win. That's how CNN began. Another win for the Trump administration. So I think I love those two words. Another win. So as we wrap up here, obviously, I mean, you were the center of the universe for several months in 2024. Which I was really excited about. I'm in I'm in Delaware. I'm like 10 minutes from the Pennsylvania line, but I was kind of hunkering down here in Delaware, and you guys were rocking and rolling in Pennsylvania. You did the unthinkable, as it were. You created an infrastructure that won Trump this key state, the Keystone State. How can other states, what can they learn from that? We're looking at Jersey now, possibly, and they came within 5, this working class realignment. That's a real possibility. New Hampshire with Sununu running for Senate. That might be some pretty hot for a flip, possibly Maine. Even Minnesota. Minnesota tends to vote to the right of Virginia. A lot of people don't realize. So what do you think other states can learn from your victory in Trump's victory that you made happen and helped to make happen in 2024?
Yeah, well, first I'll offer this to any patriots out there. I mean, if people are interested, I'm happy to share our playbook. As long as you're aligned with us principally, we're happy to kind of walk people through how we did it. I will share this, though. It is a grind. Right, Steve, to go out and raise $3 million, 175 hours at a time. Sure, we had a couple funders that came in significantly, but that's the thing I think a lot of people miss. It's not the tactics. It's not the messaging. It's not hiring. It's not building and scaling and logistics. You can't do any of that if you can't put, gas in the tank.
Yeah.
And so I always tell people, as a blue collar kid from the Philly suburbs, I don't endorse the fact that it takes money, but that's the frustrating part is I could easily just quit and say, hey, it was too hard to raise money. But that's the stomach you got to have for this, right? Do you want to go out there, meet with grassroots folks, travel around the country, Long nights in hotels, a lot of Ramada Inns, not the nicest places. We were just staying at the Penn Harris. Love those folks, but we're not at the Ritz. So right. I'm happy to share that with anybody, and just to explore and share tactics. You asked about New Jersey. So we've had conversations with New Jersey and Virginia for their big governor's races in the off year. We at Citizens Alliance, we're not going into those states in any way with money I'm raising, but I offered the same thing to them. I said, hey, I've got teams of hundreds of people. I said, I'll lend them to you guys. So if the establishment, not always the establishment, but if these groups want to come up with funds, I'm happy to import some of our people, our managers, our structure. We'll help them book the Airbnbs, but I don't need credit. Right. But if I can keep taking care of patriots by getting them jobs in other places, then that's fine. New Hampshire is a state that Citizens Alliance plays in. So, that's one of our big targets for 2026 and 2028. Yeah. So we're going to triple down there. But New Hampshire, I don't want to say is a side project, but I want to be clear with your audience. We make Pennsylvania the red wall. Yeah. Democrats cannot win nationally. I'm from PA. That is what I'm all in on.
Yep. Yep, I agree with you 1,000%. And it does seem PA, Nevada, which is it's going very much like Pennsylvania. It's going red. Arizona, I mean, they're hitting almost, what is it now, 8% voter registration advantage margin with Republicans. New Mexico, we got to keep an eye on. That's going, especially with the Latino working class moving over to the MAGA movement. I mean, it's amazing, but I agree with you 1,000%. The ground zero is the Keystone State. All right, so here he goes. What do you need us to do, Cliff? Tell us what to do. What should we do going from here? What action items can we take?
Yeah, number one, if anybody knows anybody in the state of Pennsylvania that wants to run for judge of elections, we will get them elected. I can't guarantee it legally, but I can tell you that with 40% of the seats having no one running, people can get involved at patriots.com. The biggest ask, Steve, is for people to step up right now to build this red wall. $175. If you can do a one-time gift, if you can do it monthly, it's even better. That puts a ballot chaser on the ground for a full day. And my promise, 100% of that money goes in their pocket to their gas, their pay, their actual housing. $175, patriots.com. And look, I hate, being a broken record, but I just got to thank your entire fan base. I mean, we were in a spot, I'll be honest here, and a little vulnerable. I mean, we were going to have to pull people out of the field in 24. And when I came on the show, multiple times, we were raising tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah. It really just means from all of us at the PHA's family, I want to thank your fan base. And now it's time to double down. We want to make this thing happen and make it happen in PA.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, you heard the call again. We delivered before. Let's deliver again. It's never an off year when we're trying to save civilization here. So click the links below to learn more about Cliff's works in Pennsylvania and how you can support this amazingly crucial effort. If you want to be a part of saving civilization, it's just a click away. That's how you do it. Click that link below. Make sure you're supporting Cliff, and you will save civilization. You will keep Pennsylvania red, and you will box out the Democrats permanently from the executive office. Cliff, you're the best, man. Aren't I seeing you in a couple of days? Are you coming out over to Lancaster for our event?
I'll see you Thursday. So we got to make this a weekly occurrence.
That's right. That's right. That's right. But this time we're keeping Poso out of it, right? That's
we got to block him out.
Now it's my promo code, and I'll have a big, long, cumbersome one. All right, Cliff. Can't wait to see you. Thanks for everything that you do, man. We couldn't do it without you, man. We couldn't do it without you.
Steve. Thanks so much.
Love you. If the last 4 years have taught us anything, we always have to be ready for threats to our freedoms. And what makes it even worse is that those who threaten our freedoms are the very ones who've sworn to defend those freedoms. They think they can violate your right to protect your own family. They think they can force their delusions on your children, your grandchildren. They think they can control the media and hide the truth from you. But here's the key. They cannot take away what they never gave you. Self-reliance means peace of mind. That backstock of filtered water, yours. That fully charged solar generator, ready. The emergency food on your shelf, safe. especially if that food is from My Patriot Supply. Having served millions of American families, My Patriot Supply is well equipped to help yours. Go to preparewithturley.com right now and stock up on their best-selling 3-month emergency foods kit. It delivers over 2,000 calories every day. It's sealed inside ultra-durable 4-layer packaging. It lasts up to 25 years. Oh, and did I mention it's delicious? Go to preparewithturley.com and get your kit before it's too late. It ships fast and free. Preparewithturley.com. All right, we got some questions to answer here. We've got a hotline. If you don't know, it's a brand new feature that we have on our show. 717-844-5984, 717-844-5984. You can just call into that hotline and leave your question. It'll be recorded, and then we're going to play it on our Tuesdays and Thursdays broadcast. So without further ado, Micah, let's hear our first one.
Hi, Dr. Steve. The name's Courtney. I've been watching your YouTube channel for roughly 4 years, roughly when the BLM riots started. But I have a question of what's going on right now, because I'm a little concerned with what's going on in Europe. I've been seeing so many videos from Instagram about migrants who have just flooded their borders, and people are being evicted out of their homes only to be replaced by migrants. And when I mean people have had homes for generations that got passed from like their grandfather or their great-grandfather, and they're being kicked out to let in these absolute strangers, and they're feeling so depressed. It's an awful time to be living in England or France, and I'm just wondering, is there any hope for Europe, or is it slowly becoming an Islamist state, or is there any way they can revive Christianity? I want to believe that there's hope, but I'm just not sure right now. If you can feature this, I'd be much appreciated. Thank you.
Well, there you are. Absolutely. What a great question. So let's, again, we need to apply the Stockdale principle, named after Admiral James Stockdale, who was the longest serving, if I recall, highest ranking, longest serving naval officer in a Vietnam prison of war camp. And he said the way you survive adverse situations is you have an absolutely realistic, sober assessment of what's happening, regardless of how serious it is. You've got to make sure you face the reality of it, no matter how dire your situation. And at the same time, you can never, ever lose hope that you'll prevail. If you have those two things together, you can get through pretty much anything in life. So let's look at the dire nature of it. And you described it very, very well. Outside of countries like Hungary, Poland, Slovakia, Slovenia, to an extent, Austria, the Czech Republic, really outside of those countries, perhaps a bit more even with Serbia, Bulgaria. Outside of those countries, yes, the immigration has been, particularly from Northern Africa and the Middle East, has been it has been a deluge. It has been a flood. I mean, I saw it in Britain, where I remember waiting for my cab to arrive after I arrived at the airport in Manchester, and and this is when I was studying, getting my doctorate in theology at Durham University, and I remember just sitting there outside, and I was sitting next to Pakistani Airlines. And the gate, the front desk or whatever for the Pakistani Airlines. And I remember just sitting there and watching people going in and coming out. So people departing and leaving in traditional Pakistani Islamic, garb, with, the men with very, very long beards, and the women with the burqas. And it just never stopped. I mean, I could sit there for like 45 minutes waiting for a cab, and it just never stopped. And I'm like, wow, am I in Britain, or am I, in the Middle East? It brought home to me, like, yeah, this is Now, of course, Britain is a special case in the sense that it was a colonial power, it was an international empire, so it did oversee India and Pakistan even before the partitioning. And so, but when I went to Italy, I saw similar demographic changes. I was in Italy back in the early '90s, and then came back many years later, 2019, and I saw a big difference there. And Europeans have told me that. So basically, they've opened up since over the last couple of decades. Globalists have opened up the borders and have invited more or less Northern Africa and the Middle East into Europe. And then they've been distributing the migrants throughout the Eurozone. This is one of the reasons why the UK left because of Brexit. I remember Nigel Farage saying that for you guys in the United States, your problem is illegal migration. Our problem in Britain is legal migration being forced upon us by the bullies in Brussels, where the center of the EU. So they left and still didn't get their immigration issues sorted out, because the Conservative Party ended up opening up their borders even worse than Brussels did. It was absolutely insane. So yes, that is a problem. And yes, there have been some very concerning anecdotes coming out that people have been forced out of their house by squatters and the like. Now, that said, the good news is that Christianity is making a comeback in Europe. And I'm not talking about simply pietistic Christianity, although that is happening. Laestadian Lutherans, they have a 4-to-1 demographic advantage over secular Finns. They're in Finland. Orthodox Calvinists in the Netherlands have a 2-to-1 fertility advantage over secular Dutch. So there is a sense where the conservative Catholics, conservative Protestants, conservative Orthodox in Eastern Europe are more or less just through reproduction, through their fertility advantage, they are changing slowly the complexion of Europe. But it's also Christianity really at the state level, where even the most secular countries like Sweden, Netherlands, France, you have their leaders openly talking about how we need to re-embrace and reappreciate Christianity, or else our civilization is going to disappear. So this isn't so much about an internal, pietistic faith. This is about a public faith, the faith that gave us cathedrals, the faith that gave us things like the Magna Carta and all kinds of political and cultural amazing developments, that gave us great literature and art and architecture and music and poetry, an amazing education system, an amazing healthcare system. This all came out of Christian civilization. People like Geert Wilders of the Netherlands, people like Marine Le Pen of France are all arguing that unless we self-consciously re-embrace our Christian traditions, we are going to be overrun by another religion, because secularism just can't do it. Even Richard Dawkins, the avowed atheist, he lamented the loss of what he called Christian Britain. Yeah, he lamented the loss of the Christmas markets, and then they're increasingly being replaced with, say, Islamic celebrations or Ramadan celebrations. And of course, it's like, well, but you spent your entire adult life railing against the very Christianity, the belief that undergirded this culture. So he's a little bit inconsistent there, but regardless, hey, welcome to the party, pal, right? So yes, there is hope. Europe can I actually just talked about this with Alexander Dugin this morning. Europe can rekindle the fire of Christian civilization. It's going to be hard given how restructured Europe was after World War II and how it had a very severe secularism imposed upon it as a way of being able. The key with secularism is it's not specific to any, this is the idea of it. It's not specific to any country or culture. Secularism by its nature is supposedly rooted in scientific rationalism and therefore can be exported onto any nation and all nations. So secularism was considered to be the way of knowing that would be globalist, that would be common for all peoples. Well, of course, it's been totally rejected. But unfortunately, after 7 decades of severe secularization, it's going to take some time for Europe, which was ground zero for globalism, was supposed to be the experiment of the administrative state, and then to export that administrative state to the rest of the world, hence Brussels, hence Davos and all that. It's going to take some time to be able to recover from 7 decades of secularization, but it can happen, and I pray it does. They have no other choice in the civilizationalist world. The rise of Orthodox Russia, the rise of Christian America, the rise of Hindu India, the rise of Confucian China, the rise of Ottoman Turkey. They have no choice. The rise of theocratic Israel. I mean, there's just no way around it. The world is going back to religion. It's going back to civilization, and they're going to look, frankly, like freaks if they're stuck in this globalist secular mindset.
Oh, Dr. Turley, Republicans in Congress introduced legislation to rein in rogue judges. However, it is noted that 60 votes are needed to pass in the Senate. Can you please explain how Democrats were able to push through the so-called Inflation Reduction Act with an evenly divided Senate, yet Republicans keep getting stymied with a 60-vote threshold? Thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Great question. So as I understand it, the way the rules work in the Senate, and this has happened over the last decade or so, is you have, if I recall, it's reconciliation. And reconciliation is if it is a budgetary matter or, interestingly, a judicial matter, you only need a simple majority. Everything else, you need the filibuster-proof 60, I guess technically a supermajority. So if it is an issue that has to do with budgeting, and if it is an issue that has to do with the appointing of judges, including Supreme Court judges, you just need a simple majority. There is no filibuster there in the Senate. So this is what the Democrats have been saying. This is how they're selling getting rid of the filibuster. Is they're just basically saying, look, we've already gotten rid of it when it comes to budget item issues, and when it comes to judges, why not get rid of everything else, right? So that's where, and judges, we're talking about appointing judges, not impeaching them. You still have to reach that supermajority threshold, but that's the exception. It's called, if I recall, it's called reconciliation.
Hey there, Dr. Steve. It's Aaron Steele from Indiana. I think I got cut off, but anyway, I was saying, like, my question is, why is it that we are allies with the European Union when they are so hell-bent on standing for everything that we don't, such as censoring shit, and Britain, they're developing a two-tier justice system, and also, what are why are they so hell-bent on destroying Christianity? I've seen also in Britain, Netflix is trying to destroy a classic from C.L. Lewis, Narnia, replacing Aslan as a female voice and recruiting one of those singers or actors from Kamala Harris's campaign. If you could give me some thoughts about that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
That's awesome, Aaron. Thank you for that. Yeah, well, many in Europe are saying, what happened? We're not allies anymore. And it's largely because, especially what we're seeing with the negotiations with Putin and Russia over Ukraine, both Ukraine and Europe have basically largely been left out of those negotiations, where great power politics now is playing the key role in trying to find peace. In other words, peace is going to be secured and worked out by the major powers that center these more satellite countries. Satellite countries aren't going to work out the peace. You know, they're the little ones going yum 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 yeah, and it's the big guys. It's like it's Russia and the United States that are pouring. They're the ones that have got the real military power that could keep the war going and keep supplying the little guy who's going after or wants to keep fighting. At the moment they pull their support, it's over. It's done. It's a proxy war between great powers. And what Trump is demonstrating, unlike Biden, is he recognizes that we are a great power politics today, great power blocks around the world, these civilizational blocks. And if you'll notice, Europe has basically been shut out of those conversations. So why are we allies with them to begin with? It's part of the Marshall Plan. So World War II ends, and the world has just been decimated. Europe's been decimated. The Soviet Union's been decimated. Japan's been decimated. The world, the what we would call sort of the industrial world has been completely decimated. One nation has not. One nation got hit on December 7th, but never got hit again. One nation had the biggest manufacturing base on the planet. I think 30% of all exports in the world were coming from this one place, and that was these United States. So we rebuilt the world. We basically, and that's where the whole Bretton Woods system came in. That's where the International Monetary, the IMF came in, the World Bank, the WTO, World Trade Organization in the 70s. They all came together as U.S. created institutions to bring in all these member nations that we helped rebuild. So that's why we didn't tariff them. It's one of the reasons why we didn't tariff them. It was basically lending them money to help rebuild Japan, help rebuild Europe. Obviously, Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union were on their own. They had to rebuild themselves because they were in their own spheres in this bipolar Cold War world. And bottom line, NATO became the basis of the security architecture in Europe. So Western Europe agreed to allow the United States to basically dictate security, especially now that we had the bomb. And then after the fall of Eastern Europe, the fall of the Berlin Wall and Eastern European socialism, then the whole of Eastern Europe came under that security umbrella. And then the way we structured the world through the IMF and the economic world through the IMF and the WTO and the World Bank, it all went through the United States anyway. And Europe has basically been like vassal states to us. They can't really do much economically or militarily without our say-so. It's just the system, the way it works. Same with Japan, So the moment we change our tune, like J.D. Vance did in Munich a couple of months ago, they freak out. They're like, whoa, wait a minute here, because they don't like being. They know. And again, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just being totally descriptive, not prescriptive. They know their vassal state at this point. They know that. They know the United States owns Europe militarily, and we own it economically. If we pulled the plug militarily and economically, and if they were on their own, I don't think Europe would even know what to do. So when all's said and done, they don't like being reminded of that, and Trump loves to remind them of that. So Trump is not the ally to Europe that they want. The ally to Europe that they want is one that just looks the other way whenever Europe does European things. They do not have the free speech tradition that we have. They've embraced a like I talked about earlier, just a rabid secularism, because Europe, the new Europe, was supposed to be ground zero for the new globalization. It's supposed to be the administrative state. That's the way they would call themselves. They're a managerial state that could be exported anywhere in the world. So they self-consciously eroded their own unique identities. They self-consciously eroded their unique religious tradition, Christianity. Anything that could not be exported, they got rid of, so as to be the model managerial administrative state for the world. Now the world has totally rejected managerial administrative states. They've rejected globalism. And so all Europe now is left is this, what do you want to call it? Sort of sterile secularism, this absurd wokeness, as you pointed out, so brilliantly. And now sort of this economic paralysis with nowhere to go. They can't export it. They can't do anything. Nobody wants it. And so now it's up to Europe if they're ready to now reclaim what is theirs by right, which is their Christian civilizational inheritance, which was once the wonder of the world. And they can do that again, but they are going to have to go towards the great parties like the AfD in Germany and National Rally in France and Vox in Spain and Chega in Portugal. Reform is a start in Britain. I know Carl Benjamin's listening. He'll have a little issue with Nigel and so forth. But hey, they're a movement in the right direction. They're going to have to go with the Viktor Orban Fidesz party, the Law and Justice Party in Poland. They're going to have to go the Austrian Freedom Party. They're going to have to go in that direction and just absolutely throw away the bullies in Brussels, the whole EU experiment. Just absolutely chuck it and reject it. Good news is it looks like that's where things are moving. It's just the question is how long?
Dr. Turley, this is Roy Sharp. I live in a small town in Missouri. I watch your show faithfully, and I get all my political information from you. But my question is this. I know Donald Trump is reorganizing, President Trump is reorganizing the healthcare system, especially dealing with Social Security. And I was wondering, is he going to cut Social Security for everyone, or is it just for the illegal aliens that are going to be deported? That's my question. Is Social Security still safe for everyone like myself and everyone that I know, or is it all going to be cut? Just let me know. Thank you. Bye.
Great question, Roy. Actually, great question. A lot of people are asking that question because of what the Democrats are doing in terms of trying to scare people that Elon Musk is coming to cut your Social Security. He's gonna chainsaw it out of effect. So as things stand, there is nothing, zippo nada, that the Trump administration is going to do with your Social Security. Period. End of discussion. They have made that absolutely clear. Trump is very pro entitlement. He has no problem with Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. It's part of the working class realignment. He does believe in a very muscular government and an interventionist government in that sense. What they are cutting is the fraud. You caught that. That's excellent. That's exactly right. They're cutting, whether it's the illegal migrants getting it or whether people who are 150 years old who are getting checks, and duplicates. There's a lot of duplicates, triplicates, a lot of people getting multiple checks rather than just the one. That's what they're cutting. They're not, no one who is, who meets the qualifications, the age qualification to begin collecting Social Security will be denied that. They've made that absolutely clear. Unfortunately, the Democrat, again, the adage is you want to make a Democrat mad, tell them the truth. You want to make I did it opposite. If you want to make a Republican mad, lie to them. If you want to make a Democrat mad, tell them the truth. Democrats love lies. They really do. They love lies. They do. And it's largely because the left is largely, in terms of its leadership, it is, they are pathological. And again, there's been studies we talked about, Andrei Lubachevsky and Olavo de Carvalho, these scholars who've studied Marxists and leftists all their entire adult lives, and they both came to the same conclusion, one from a political theorist perspective, another one from a psychological perspective, that they're all psychopaths. And psychopaths lie. Psychopaths use lies to manipulate, malevolently manipulate people at a mass scale if they can. So that's why they tend to be attracted to politics and political power. They are, the Democrats today are ruled by psychopaths, and psychopaths lie. And they lie in order to manipulate you and get you to try to whip you up into a hysteria. And that's exactly what we're seeing with for example, the Tesla terrorism and the like. So TDS, right? Tesla derangement syndrome. So you don't have to worry about a thing, my friend. Trump's got you covered, and he's always made that promise that he will always take care of the citizens of our nation. That's what America First is all about. And with that, I believe with those four, we are done for the evening. Now, I am going to be again. I gotta hit the road again, gang. I'm going off to Lancaster for the ribbon cutting of the Worldview Institute, which I'm very, very excited about. A brand new school, so hopefully you're going to see lots of some features from that on video. But we've got a bunch of stuff that'll be going up all throughout the week, so you love that. And I'm sure we're going to have lots of. We'll probably be able to break in with some live streaming. So keep an eye on what's coming to this channel all throughout the week. Love you guys.